Welcome to episode 4 of the Wrecka Stow podcast. I'm your host, John Champion, and this is a place where we gather to talk about concerts and have great conversations about music and things that are going on in the world. This week's show is awesome and amazing. We're going to be talking about psychedelic music. I also review the July Parliament Funkadelic show in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I interviewed Daniel Chavis of the legendary Velt and Chico Scott. All right, we're going to learn a lot about a great show that's coming up in Raleigh soon. I've got links to many of the songs I discuss and videos from the shows and more on the podcast Facebook and Twitter pages. And also, you can find links in the show description. Lots of links. Now, the podcast is available on Anchor, Google, Apple, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Radio Public, and Stitcher, and many more to come. So listen and share. Tell your friends all about it so that they can listen and share as well. We're going to start the show right after this break. And we're back on the Wrecka Stow podcast. I'm John Champion, and let's talk about that Parliament show. So about 2 weekends ago, on July 27th, I went to see two of my favorite bands, George Clinton Parliament Funkadelic and Fishbone. Now, I've seen both of these bands many times live, and in fact, I was damn near smushed at a show in the 80s in Chapel Hill at the Cat's Cradle watching a Fishbone show. I can only say it's one of the best experiences of my musical youth. Now, that Truth and Soul album, to this day, still means so much to me. It just hit on everything that was important at that time in my life. Race, culture, sex, teen angst. So many great songs. Divorce. Like I said, politics, everything. And if you've never seen them live, man, they have so much energy. It's almost undescribable. It was like, and for a while, it was like almost every member played two instruments, like would play a horn and sing. It's just, you just really have to see it. A keyboard player with a rotating keyboard, so he's playing and moving around in a circle. Chris Dowd is back with the band. It's a beautiful thing. And I remember the recorded intro to my first Fishbone show. I was blown away. It's like this over-the-top voice that was like, "Welcome to Fishbone, a funk, rock, jazz, ska, calypso, gospel, blues experience." And I mean, it really is. I mean, so many different styles, and they play them all. And, you know, I know they suffered financially, commercially, because no one knew how to market a band that can play anything like that, you know? I mean, and it's not like they were going to sell out and just do, you know, one style of music for pop culture. Man, and you just can't put Fishbone in a box. Amazing, thought-provoking, and funny lyrics, and amazing musicians. Again, one of my favorite bands, and if you ever have the chance to see them live, oh man, it's a joy. Just watching them groove and get the crowd worked up, and it's just great music. Sadly, I got to this show late. Got off work, and I only caught the very last song by Fishbone, but they still did not disappoint me. They did Subliminal Fascism from that Truth and Soul album, which is like 2 minutes long. And they gave a special shout out to 45 and their extra special Fuck Racism style. Angelo Moore got down into the crowd from the stage, was walking on chairs in the amphitheater, just moving among the people. Reminded me of a show they did at the Mad Monk in Wilmington that I saw in the 90s. Had to be maybe 94, 95, Angelo is crawling up a big wooden balcony, just like Spider-Man, while the band is jamming, and they are vamping the Fat Albert theme, just the part that goes, na na na, gonna have a good time, and it was just so funky. But someone unplugged their speakers or set the speaker cables on fire as the band spoke out against racism, as they often do. So, but it just delayed the show. They came back and played it. Man, and they still tore the stage up. Even though I didn't see the entire set of this most recent show, I felt really good being there. One thing that meant a lot to me, I was in the company of the person who took me to my very first concert. It was Prince and Rick James at Dorton Arena in Raleigh in 1981. So I was glad I was able to share Parliament Funkadelic with a good person in my life, one of my favorite cousins, and just really enjoyed doing something cool for him and seeing that he was happy and taking him back to his heyday and all the times I rated their albums. So it was cool. Fishbone blew the minds of the bougie folks in the crowd. There were some folks who just didn't want to try and get it. You know, I call them funk fakers, because you have to know, and Angelo even said it, we love George Clinton. He inspired us in so many ways. So why would you turn up your nose at an electric guitar solo? Why are you here if you don't know Maggot Brain? Now, on the other side, it was really great to see some hardcore bunketeers, some old heads really having a good time. And there was a Japanese family behind me, and you know, and I just felt like, you know, and I know in Japan that's how they'll go to a concert and they're just silent. I just wanted to see them grooving and shaking, but I understand they don't do that. Fishbone played first on the Screensboro show, which surprised me. And then a band called Galactic played. I'd never heard of them, but they were amazing. They're a jam band, and God, I hate that term, jam band, from New Orleans. And they sound so good. It's like traditional New Orleans jazz, funk, soul, acid jazz. Now, they use a lot of different vocalists, but the lady on tour with them that evening, lead vocalist Erica Falls. And let me tell you, she sang her face off. She had the crowd on their feet, which is hard to do when, you know, you're hearing songs that aren't cover songs. You know, it's hard for bands to get people into songs they haven't heard, you know. But she was just, man, she's such a great singer. Like I said, she sang her face off. And if you go and check out their music, they use lots of different singers, guys, girls. They use Macy Gray on some stuff. I've got links to some of their songs in the show description, so make sure you check that out. That is something you really want to hear. Now, there's much more ahead on the podcast, including my take on what could be George Clinton's final show in the Carolinas. Hear that, and don't miss my interview with Daniel Chavis of the Velton Apollo Heights. He's going to be talking about a big show coming up that you should support. I'm going to tell you all about it right after the break. And we're back on the Wrecka Stow podcast. I'm your host, John Champion. Thank you so much for listening. Now, I'm talking about that amazing July show in Greensboro at the White Oak Amphitheater with Fishbone, Galactica, George Clinton, and P-Funk. The show overall was amazing. I've always wondered how bands that size, the size of Parliament, make it all come together without hurting each other. I mean, dancers, musicians, dozens of musicians. Man, there had to be 30 folks on that stage. George sounds great. He was on his feet, pumping up the crowd and singing in strong voice for most of the show. Blackbird McKnight was on guitar. That was a real treat, as well as Gary Scheider's son, Garrett. That's right, Diaper Man's son, Garrett. I've got a great Washington Post article about him in the show description, so make sure you check that out. That's something you really need to read and enjoy. More about the show. Those sexy chicks were rocking on stage and off, and the funk was flowing. There were lots of rappers, and it sounded amazing. George has always had a big love of hip-hop, and he had lots of young family members performing, and he kept referencing 3 generations of P-Funk. He's from Kannapolis, North Carolina, so it's kind of a homecoming. So you can imagine, classic songs had some new life with some new rap verses, and it was amazing. It was really, really a cool show that, like I said, you got to think. I mean, you gotta carry on that legacy and make it new for young people, and it's such an important piece of American history. And the actual mothership is in the African American Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. So that's a beautiful thing. Now, if you look at the Facebook and Twitter pages for the podcast, you'll find some videos and pics from the show. I've got links in the show description. It was really great to see people of all races coming together to truly be one nation under a groove for that night. Now, seeing my favorite groove and characters done live with old Sir Nose devoid of funk, man, it really took me back to holding those albums and reading the cartoons. They were cooler than any DC or Marvel comic book character to me because they looked like me. And it's I'll tell you what, if this is the last time I get to see George Clinton live, I just want to say thanks for the funk, George. It's definitely, it was a vital part of who I am, me growing up and growing older, and really appreciate. I mean, there's those songs are like, when you say national anthems, I mean, seriously. Man, I have danced and sung and cried and laughed to those records, man. Those are just unforgettable memories, and that's why I love music so much. Now, get up off your ass and go see him while he's on tour. He's built a legacy that is truly often imitated but will never be fully duplicated. So, George Clinton's produced and performed so much great music with so many acts: Parliament, Funkadelic, Brides of Funkenstein, Bootsy, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, jams with Prince, Ice Cube. You're going to find a lot of these songs, links to the YouTube videos in the show description. Now, the show's going to continue with our interview with Daniel Chavis and our discussion of the mini Sunday psych music session coming to Raleigh soon. We're going to find out where it's happening, when it's happening, who's playing. We're going to talk about psychedelic music, and it's a great conversation with me, Daniel, and Chico. That's coming up after the break. You're listening to the Wrecka Stow podcast. I'm your host, John Champion, talking with the one and only super talented lead singer for the Velt and Apollo Heights, Daniel Chavis. Daniel, what's going on?
Well, what's happening here is I have you down at Lamar hanging out with my good friend Freaky Chico Deep.
Yeah. Chico's in the house.
And we're discussing a mini Sunday Psych session that's being hosted by Triangle Psych Fest at Neptune's November 10th. Now we're also going to have a pre-party. It's going to be at the VAE on Saturday the 9th, hopefully. We're talking to them about it, so it's not worked out yet, but we're trying to get that going to include more bands since we can't do a whole long thing. We were going to do something with VAE a long time ago, but it didn't work out, so I'm praying that we'll be able to do something in conjunction with them as well.
Oh, right. So tell me, in your mind, why is doing another Psych Fest so important?
Well, I traveled all over, and all over the, it sounds kind of corny. I traveled all over the world.
Don't be ashamed.
Yeah, but it sounds stupid. I traveled all over the world and played at a lot of Psych Fest, and even in the country, and North Carolina didn't have one. So being invited to play the Austin Psych Fest, which is Levitation by Brian's Jonestown, got me thinking that, Raleigh has a really good music scene. It's different than the way it was when we were young, but I want to introduce this music too. Yeah,
not as much cultural cross-pollination.
Exactly.
Fans and musicians as it was in the late 80s, early 90s.
Not at all.
I've been saying that for 20 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Every time you turn around, when there's a live event opening in Raleigh, there's always a bluegrass band. That's not what we're all representing here. I mean, I love it. Anyway, but a lot of my friends are in those kind of bands, but I wanted to introduce the fact that there's an undercurrent of psychedelic shoegaze bands in North Carolina, and I wanted to put our stamp on it. So that's why I'm doing it again. The first time we did it with Kings. We did it with Poorhouse and the Wicked Witch. I think it's spread out a bit too thin, but it was an ambitious effort. We did it, and that's what counts. So the second time, everybody couldn't do it. I think they got drained, so I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it by myself. So that's it.
Now tell me what bands are going to be on the festival, if you have a lineup of them.
Well, you're talking about Them Delights, a band called Stray Owls, amazing band called Lazy Jags, and a band called Night Battles.
Okay. Now, yeah. Chico, you were talking to me just a second ago about the Black Psychedelic. Talk to me a little more about that.
Hey, what you be talking about?
I'm trying to think of the first time I heard something that was considered black and psychedelic. It might have been Miles Davis' Richard Group, but I was big on Jimmy Castle when I was growing up.
Oh yeah, now that's funky.
And it was funky, but to me, it was always a thin line between the funk and psychedelic. Because my brother's 10 years older than me, he had a bunch of Parliament Funkadelic records. And I used to look at a lot of those, and I was like, this shit is crazy.
I went to see them weekend before last in Greensboro.
The Fishbone and Dill.
As a kid, I played allegiance to the funk. I mean, that to me was the essence of psychedelic. Oh, yeah. Then when I got older, I learned about Miles Davis, learned about Ornette Coleman, Don Cherry, and then I was thinking, wow, man, there's a fusion between what is considered black music and white music. You know what I mean? It's not that simple. The lines are transparent. And so then I thought, as a DJ, I always there's a venue or an event where I can express that, my love for the variety of what represents black psychedelic.
Right.
And then, this troubadour comes along and provides me with the opportunity to do that. Thank you, Mr. Chase.
My thing. I'll take the ball and run with him here. What Chico says is right. It's kind of like, I don't know what clearly defines what psychedelia is, because, I saw on who's the guy that did the Beavis and Butthead? What's his name? Mike Judge. Series. And it showed how Parliament became psychedelic.
Oh yeah, I love that.
You saw it, right? So that's what we're talking about.
From the tour bus.
Yeah, you see the story about how George Clinton became psychedelic? By these young white kids that gave them some drugs before a show. It was never the same.
Man, they were tripping.
Yeah, they were tripping.
Literally.
So they kept it up. So, the scene I saw in Austin was a very white occasion. There were no black psychedelic bands in it. I mean, we don't want to put a stamp on that anyway. And, and we don't want to put a stamp on it anyway. But that was exactly what I wanted to bring up. I wanted to put I don't know if we're psychedelic or shoegaze nowadays, I don't know, but we lend ourselves to that.
Now, honestly, you guys say it's hard to separate drugs and the influence of drugs, the hallucinogenics in particular, psychedelic, right? Because that's what I call psychotic. You know what I mean? But as you get older, I mean, when you're a kid, you're experimenting. You know what I mean? Try this, have these feelings. Then when you get older, it's not so much, oh, I'm on this trip and I'm going to randomly produce some art and then, try to remember what I did and record it the next day or something. When you get older, it's more like, it's almost like a natural high in the sense that everything's so formulated and structured and the paradigms were set by somebody else of what music can and cannot be,
right,
and what kind of group, what this group looks like. It's not about psychedelic, but take Lil Nas X, for example, who is blurring the lines between hip-hop and country, but has been rejected by Billboard as far as being able to do the country chart. Even though country people love music.
Right, yeah.
So they've defined what he should be called or what his music is classified as. And my participation in Psychfest is resistance to that conformity. You know what I mean? And that's what psychedelic was from the beginning, the resistance to conformity of the conventional structure of reality.
You're trying to put a label on stuff.
Right.
Everyday walls, you're trying to let those walls down.
Everyday walls, I like that.
Fly and be free.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
There
So
you
like
go.
that.
That's what black psychedelic is.
That's awesome.
Right. Let me fly my free flag.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have to be so sneaky
If you weren't so freaky deep.
I love it.
Sneaky motherfucker, though. Tell him, Mike.
I love it.
That's bad freaky deep.
This black astronaut. Hold it. The black astronaut thing that Daniel keeps mentioning.
I don't know what we're doing here, Wendy. We're just talking stupid and I was saying,
like astronaut.
we laugh and get on astronaut.
Last of the ghetto astronaut.
We're talking something crazy.
I will say this. I don't know what he's talking about, but I will say that every time you see mission control with NASA, you never seen the black people. Now we know about the hidden picture story.
We know about that.
We know that the ladies are back there somewhere. But the last, there's new footages. There's footage that's not new, but they're showing it for the first time. And PBS did a special. And I saw on the song from behind, they straight up was a black man in mission control. Now, I don't know if he was making these but I don't know about him being an astronaut. I don't know about the astronaut.
Right.
But I do know there's at least one black man that was in the room at mission control.
Man.
Who was dressed in the shirt with the pins in the pockets, just like everybody else. With the white shirt with skinny black tie.
Yeah.
That was him.
Man, I was thinking about writing a bit. I do a little stand-up. I was thinking about writing a bit and take Alexa and make a black Alexa, call it Leon. Things you would ask Leon. Leon, how do I make pecan pie?
Or Leon, quit raising my potato salad.
Exactly.
Crazy.
Exactly.
Call me for 15 minutes. Don't ask me nothing.
Exactly. Don't ask me nothing.
Well, we had a really pretty diverse lineup last year, and now let's kind of scale it down because this on a particular night I'm going to focus on bands that are primarily what I consider to be the premier shoegaze psych bands in Raleigh.
Okay.
Stray Owls are amazing. I love them. Last Week Ghetto Astronaut and Them Delight played at the Transfer Music facility hall a couple months ago.
Okay.
So they were great. Them Delight. So that was the band that played with y'all. And Lacey Jags is just phenomenal. Night Battles is just incredible. It's just that's a good lineup. You know what I'm saying? They're all pretty hard bands.
That's great, man.
Lacey Jags, Them Delights, Night Battles, and the Velt.
I love it. I love it.
Night Battles, the Velt. Who am I forgetting? Wait a minute. Lacey Jags.
That's all right.
I don't want to forget who it is.
I understand. Gotta pull out the notes. I'm with you. But else was I going to ask you? I was going to say.
Listen.
So, tell me one more time. Tell me when it's going to be and where.
Okay, it's going to be at Neptune's November the 10th. That's a Sunday.
Okay.
So we kind of want people to get there early. And since we're having so many
14 West Martin Street, I believe it's address.
Yeah, 14 West Martin Street, underground.
Okay.
And what it is we're having 5 bands, and so we having people get there early, so we can have everybody being honest. So Lacey Jags, Straight Owls, Night Battles, Develop, and Dim the Lights.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. I'm looking forward to it. Is there anything else you want to let people know about the festival? Or?
Well, it's just going to be a Sunday Psych session, so it won't be a festival per se.
Okay.
Because we just can't afford it. And, I take into consideration people like Paul Seiler and Kate from Kings giving me the chance to try it. It's their job. They're like, look, we don't want a bunch of motherfuckers on the bill because we got to think about, cost. And just people have lives, so I take that into consideration. And everybody's gonna have short sets. It's gonna be a little bit of a small taste test, along with Last Ghetto Astronauts, Chico Scott. We're gonna have James Leak, my man Sean, Last Ghetto Astronauts. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be kind of a smorgasbord of sound for the evening.
I love it.
You know what I'm saying?
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Belt or anything?
Well, right now, we're kind of taking a hiatus because my grandmother just died, so I got to kind of get back into the writing mode.
Understood. So sorry about your loss.
No, I appreciate it.
Definitely. She meant a lot to the community.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. I've got a special memory of the first time I came over with Jamal Bowe, pick you guys up to take you to a show.
Yeah.
This was 88 or 89. And Jamal had a big yellow Oldsmobile.
Right.
And, so we're
Was that what it was?
Yeah, man, that big Oldsmobile 98, man.
She said something crazy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she did.
She said something crazy.
You guys were in the washroom practicing.
Right.
I don't care where you're going. Just go. Grandma was going to Chapel Hill. I don't care. Just go. Just go. Keeping all that fuss in my house.
Ooh, yeah.
But I saw you guys play that night. You played at the Art Center in Carrboro.
Chico was there.
And you killed it.
Yeah, the Art Center in Carrboro, Chico.
And that was that was the first time I ever saw you.
Yeah.
That's the first time I ever saw you guys play.
Yeah. Right.
That's it. That's the first time I ever saw you guys play, and I just was like mesmerized by Marvin. Like,
why?
Man, Marvin was playing his face off.
Right.
And all you guys were, and I was just like, yeah, they black and they weird like me.
Right.
This is cool.
Well, it's funny you should say that because there's a lot of new young black bands coming out that are doing it completely different than we're doing, and people ask me, what do you think about this band and that band? I mean, you don't hate on other black folks trying to get a leg in. It's like, well, yeah, but they're younger. Yeah, of course they are. I'm not young anymore, and it's good to see other brothers come along. You pass the torch to them. They may be slightly or way different than you are, but you're not in it to be for a competition.
Yeah.
I do it because I like it. They go, I remember one time, I was married once, I'm sorry to say, and one night she goes, well, one day you're going to have to get a real job. And I went, excuse me?
Yeah.
I mean, that goes without saying because, to be an artist, you have to have another job to pay the bills. If you're not doing whatever. So that's what you have to do things that you like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, gotta have a little hustle.
Yeah.
Something to pay the bills.
So that's what it is, and it's like I do it because I like it. And going back to what I'm saying, there are lots of other new black bands people should look out for, and it's a good time,
Oh yeah. Now when I saw Fishbone in Greensboro 2 weeks ago,
I know them niggas.
It was crazy. You know them more.
Yeah.
It was crazy because they playing their faces off. But there's a lot of, I hate to call them bougie, there's a lot of older folks that just didn't seem like they want to stand up and get into it, and they looking all bewildered.
Was it packed out there?
It was packed. It was packed. It's an amphitheater. It's not as big as Walnut Creek, but and it's not covered, but the weather was good, and they did their thing, tore it up, and then Parliament did their thing.
I love them.
And it was great.
We played with Fishbone dozens of times.
Oh yeah. I saw you. I almost got crushed at a Fishbone show.
Was it when you playing?
You guys.
What show was it?
Oh my God, it was a long time ago. 88 to 89. Truth and Soul was out. The Cat's Cradle was in a totally different place.
Right.
The Cat's Cradle was on Franklin Street near Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh right.
Yeah, man. And,
it was us, Fishbone. I forgot what that was.
I forget.
But we did a couple of days of Fishbone outside of North Carolina.
Man.
Huh? Yeah. Mission Valley. It was at the pier.
Wow.
Well, I saw
you in Chapel Hill, and you open the fishbone. And this is how crazy it was. Jamal told me, he was like, don't stand up front. Don't stand up close. I said, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, wait. So, I'm doing an interview.
So I'm standing there. I'm standing at the front watching you and your brother play. You guys are great. The show was great. The place was rocking. It was the 80s. All right. All of a sudden, you guys leave, and I'm standing there waiting to see Fishbone. All of a sudden, the crowd starts moving like as one mass unit. Fish.
I believe it.
Bone. Fish. Bone. I got scared as hell. I was in the 11th grade. I was like, I'm about to get trampled.
I love them.
Oh my God. But you guys killed it, and they killed it as well.
That was a good show.
That was a good show, man.
Yeah.
That was a good show. Well, listen, man, thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
Yeah, I'm Daniel Chavis. This is my man.
Introduce yourself.
Rico, America. Also known as Chico Scott.
We're going to have another Marvel character.
Exactly.
I love it. Thank you guys so much.
Right,
and we'll be looking forward to
the Sunday Psych
show.
Sessions. Sunday Psych Session, November 10th. Look out for a possible party. We'll probably hopefully be doing with the VLC. And we'll see. And then we'll keep you posted.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Wrecka Stow podcast. Make sure you go see these bands. Especially make sure you don't miss the mini Sunday Psych experience coming to Neptune's in Raleigh on November 10th. It's going to be very, very nice. Don't forget to hit the show description for links to much of the music and articles that we talked about on the show. Special thanks to Daniel Chavis, Chico Scott, Mike, and everyone at the Landmark Bar in downtown Raleigh. And we dedicate this episode to the memory of Miss Mabel Pipkin. Thanks for listening.